Happy Thursday, everybody. I hope that you are doing well in the middle of COVID land. That's what I've been calling it. I had a hiccup yesterday that I wanted straight out of the gate apologize for. Thank goodness that our guest today is so kind and lives his words of customer service, because he was like, no problem. We'll hang out tomorrow together. And here we are. All right, Dan Cockerell, who is amazing. Thank you so much, buddy. I'm bringing you onto the screen right now. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me here. And,
Dan.
I hope everyone's doing well.
Yeah, it was just a disaster yesterday. But when I texted you, listen, it's not going to happen today, you really made me feel so much better, because as a business owner, there's angst around that, right? I mean, it's similar to how you deal with customers. If I can't provide, I promised you something, and now I can't deliver on that. And it was so much kindness that you gave to reciprocate from my utter failure as mom and business owner in the same capacity. So thank you for all of that.
Yeah, well, I thought, it was humorous for me, because like I said, we raised 3 kids, and we've had all kinds of liquids and things come out of their bodies on us at very inopportune moments. So I totally understood, and it took us back to tell us some stories. You remember the time? And so anyway, it was.
You remember the time when our daughter threw up all over the car and you had to go live in a half hour?
That's
Anywho,
a family story.
Yeah, well, but it was actually a great segue, because if you're a part of our mailing list, I did send you guys out the whole story of what happened and your kind text message that you sent. But I thought it was a great segue, because today we're talking about customer service during a crisis. And who better to talk about customer service than you with your fabulous resume? For people who don't know Dan, he is the former vice president of Magic Kingdom here in Orlando, Walt Disney World. And talk to us, Dan, a little bit about your Disney journey, and then also how customer service has weaved into every core value that you have now and that you teach on stages across the world.
Yeah, sure. So I grew up in Maryland. I went to high school there and went to Boston University. And I worked my sophomore year at BU. I came down to Florida and worked on the Walt Disney World College program. And I spent the summer at the front desk at the Contemporary Hotel. And then I went back to school for 2 years. And when I graduated, I came back down to Disney. And they interviewed for jobs. And they said, what do you want to do? And I said, well, I'm a political science major. What should I be doing? And they said, you should be parking cars at Epcot. So that was my first job. And that's a common story among managers and executives at Disney. Most people started on the front line. And it's really important for us that people who work there in management understand what the frontline experience is, because that's really where all the value happens. All the 74,000 cast members are interacting with the 50 million guests a year. And as a leader, you have to understand how important that is. So got that experience. And then for the next, I did that for 6 months. I moved to France to open Disneyland Paris in 1992 and opened the parking lot over there, because I was now an expert in parking. And
with a college degree, no less.
Yeah. And I stayed there for 5 years. I was supposed to go for 1.5 years with my work visa, and my wife is from France. We started dating in the States, and then we were dating in France, and then we moved in together, and then finally, right with like 5 weeks to go, we were trying to figure out a solution. I said, you know what, I have a solution. If we get married, I can stay, and this seems to be going pretty well. And she said, all right, let's do it, and that was it. So 5-week engagement, we got married, and we stayed there for 4 more years. So we were there for a total of 5 years. I worked as a frontline manager there. And then we moved back to Florida in 1997, and I spent the next 22 years at Walt Disney World as an operations manager. I was a general manager of some of the resort hotels. I was a general manager of some of the businesses in the parks. And then my last 9 years at Disney, I was the vice president of Epcot for 2 years, Disney's Hollywood Studios for 4, and then the Magic Kingdom for 3 years. And then about 3 years ago, Valerie and I started chatting and said, what are we doing next? Because our 3 kids were the last ones going to be going off to college. And we decided we were going to take a leap and try something different. So I left 2 years ago this month, and we started our own consulting company. And that was it. And so I went from a 26-year veteran and executive in a big, great company to now, as I like to call us, budding entrepreneurs. So every day is a new learning for us. And it's been great. It's been scary. It's been exhilarating. It's been stressful. There's days when we're so happy. And so it's a whole new life, but it really kind of recharged us to have a new challenge, I'd say.
I think it's crazy nowadays. We don't hear many people with that story where they stay with the same company for 30 plus years and have that loyalty. How does that loyalty change your perspective of customer service?
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to loyalty, I think, we talk about brand image. People really love brands and they're loyal to brands. But I think it's because those brands are delivering a feeling, an emotion that connects with them. They believe in it. They like what the company stands for, or they love the products the companies deliver. The companies that do it well, we learned at Disney there's 4 things that Disney does that differentiates us. We make people feel special. We treat people as individuals. We respect people, and we're really good at executing what we do. We know our product and we execute it well. And when you can put those things together, people get a personal, emotional attachment to your brands. And we've taken the same approach now that we're running our own company. It's over deliver on value. Whenever, I know we're going to talk about this, but I'm selling my book now. I thought about on my website putting that I'd be autographing every copy and writing a little personalized message, but I was afraid. I didn't know if I was going to have time to do that or if I could pull that off. But now that we're doing it, I'm signing every book that I'm selling. And so it's a surprise for people. So it's that, like, I want to give value and then add more and exceed people's expectations. And that's the Disney model. We want to, we're going to promise you a great experience, and then we're going to deliver more than you expected. And when you do that, the intent to recommend goes up and the intent to return goes up. And that's how you sustain a business. People come back over and over again. And that's the same for almost every business in the world.
So this is why I love talking to you, Dan, because it's those moments where you say, hold everything. We got to press pause on this. I need a notebook. I need my computer. I need to write down everything that Dan is saying because these are the keys to how I push forward through this. So I am going to give people a minute just to get something to write notes with, because the one sentence that you had in there is so valuable, of those 4 steps. And then we, during this conversation, are going to translate those into some action items that you could focus on for your business, how to navigate your business through COVID-19 when it comes to customer service. So can you just repeat for people who are just joining us those 4 to 5 items that you mentioned so that they could write them down and have them posted on their vision board?
Yeah. So so I'll recap a little bit. We did a lot of focus groups with guests. And we asked them, what is it about Disney that you love? Why do you keep coming back? Why do you keep spending all this money with us? Why do you come and spend money you don't have with us? We're not a non-discretionary. We're not non-discretionary. I mean, you choose to come to Walt Disney World. And we thought they were going to tell us we love the fireworks, we love the hotels, all the things that we offer. But what they told us was, we expect all that. We expect you to deliver all that. What we really want, at the end of the day, the reason we make the difference there is because you made us feel like individuals, make us feel special, and respect us. And you're knowledgeable. You're really good at at knowing and updating us and keeping us informed when we come on vacation of what we're going to expect. Because Walt Disney World's a big, complex place. There's a lot going on there, and people want to get the value from their money. And it's just like anywhere. When you go into a hardware store and you say, "Hey, I need this part, and I'm going to describe it to you." When the person says, "All right," they go to this section of the store, they know what they're talking about, they know the products. You feel much better about that experience. So treat me as an individual, make me feel special, respect me, and be knowledgeable. And if that's the icing on the cake, and that's the differentiator a lot of times in businesses. If you can pull those things off, the experience goes from very good to excellent. And excellent is the only thing we measure at Walt Disney World is excellent, because that's all that really counts. Very good is is, people may come back, but when you deliver an excellent experience, they absolutely will come back.
So a couple of things, because I was in the college program too, and in a class, I don't even know what I'm allowed to say anymore. In a class that you take before you go out and become a real cast member, they teach you how much money an average family spends during their trip at Walt Disney World. And as a newbie cast member, you're just so amazed that could happen for families all over the world, that they're coming here and spending that much money. And I remember one family that I was talking to said, similar to your story of, it's not about the fireworks, because they kind of expect that. They remember that they were standing in the lobby waiting for their room, they sneezed, and one of the cast members ran over to them with a tissue.
Yeah.
And it's that value and that add-on. So you're important, and now I'm going to give you a tissue. That it's that unexpected add-on. So how, when we are living in this new life of COVID-19 and businesses have to navigate online, how do you offer that special add-on, that special goodness to say, you're special to me, I value you as a customer? And I know it's difficult to brainstorm across so many different industries that are out there, but what would you say to someone who is really struggling with, I have to immediately switch my business to an online model?
Yeah, well, I think one thing before I answer that, your example of someone sneezing and a cast member running up with a handkerchief or a tissue. The funny thing is, when people hear, when I go speak to groups, they go, well, yeah, okay, fine, you worked for Disney, but you have billions of dollars and you have all the assets, and that's fine for you, but I have a small business. But the thing you talked about, that family remembered that tissue paper. Any business can do that. Mm-hmm. So it really isn't a question of how many resources you have or how much money you have in your business. It's about training people to have that reaction to those moments. And training definitely costs something, but as a leader, you setting that expectation, hiring the right people and setting the expectation about that warm hospitality and reacting in a way that makes people feel welcome, that doesn't cost anything. You just have to decide as a manager or leader, you're going to demand that, and you're going to train that, and you're going to reward that. So I just want to take that. I want to mention that, because every keynote I do, I always try to tell people at the beginning, look, you're probably going to come up with 5 reasons you can't do what I'm going to say, but everything I'm going to say has nothing to do with Disney's resources. It has everything to do with leadership and expectations. So I think coming back to your other question about this personalization, you have to certainly be creative in how you're going to connect with people. In these times right now, if I was running, I am running a small business, I'm talking to my clients. I'm talking to people I've worked with in the past, and I'm texting them, hey, hope you're doing okay. These are people, maybe they invited me up a year ago to speak at a conference or speak to their business and their company, and I'm following up now and just saying, hope everything's going well, hope you're hanging in there. If you need any help, let me know. And they thank me. I don't expect them to hire me again, and they may or may not. But what I found when it comes to customer service and loyalty, you have to give a whole bunch before you get anything back. And a lot of companies want an instant, transaction. I'm going to market to you, and you're going to pay me. And a lot of businesses don't work that way. You're giving, and eventually people are going to buy from you because they want to, because they respect you, they trust you. So if you have a small business and you know who your clients are, you should be reaching out to them. You should be sending emails. You should be calling some people personally. I've been talking to a couple of nonprofit organizations, an aquarium in Indianapolis and a big public garden in London. I've been talking to the guy who runs that. It's a nonprofit. And they decided, they're like, in London, they're sending a ticket and a bottle of gin to all their big donors and saying, hey, we can't wait to have you back in to the gardens when we reopen. But in the meantime, here's a bottle of gin to pass the time, because that's really popular there. So they're going after the big ones, because those people are going to remember when the chips were down and everyone was worried about everything, that garden reached out to them and gave them a little love. And when it comes time, and it will come time in 6 months from now when they're doing a big fundraising campaign because they need funds, those people are going to step up because we paid attention to them during these times. The note you sent out yesterday, that wasn't personalized. I mean, it went out to all your listeners and viewers, but you took the time to do that. You could have easily just come on today and told the story and apologized, but that little empathetic extra, that little attention to detail made everyone feel like, okay, maybe I tuned in, it wasn't there, now I heard that story, and it's going to be okay. So I think there's the big three is listen to your consumers, listen to your customers, communicate with them, keep them updated. If I ran I'll make this up, if I ran a pizza place in College Park where I live, if I had a list of people, and I probably have a list of customers who have bought there before, I'd be sending out an email every week, and not just like come buy my pizza when we reopen, but hey, want to check on you as we do this. I want to send you a coupon when we reopen. We're really looking forward to having you back. I want to give you 30% off your first pizza when we open up again. We're having a reopening celebration. Talk to people and communicate to people. Then the next week, maybe it's, hey, this week I just want to tell you, here's 5 things I've heard about how to pass the time at home with small kids, and here it is. And then the next week it's, hey, if you want to make your own pizzas, I know you're missing our pizza, here's like the 10 ingredients you can get at Publix and make your own pizzas at home until you can come back to us. So just this engagement thing, we haven't forgotten about you as a customer, and we value you even when you're not giving us money. That goes a long way.
So a lot of people who are in healthcare, a lot of office administrators, marketing personnel for healthcare, and pharmacists watch what we talk about here every week. And one of the things I've been telling them, because they're in a different bucket, because they're inundated with serving their patients, their customers. And I tell them it doesn't matter how many people you're serving and how busy you are, you still need to communicate and reach out via your website. Tell them that you're doing things differently because of COVID-19. And now this week, because for instance, for us in the state of Florida, we're starting to do that soft opening again, talk to your patients again. So can you talk to people about how often you should communicate versus over communicating or under communicating?
Yeah, I don't think there's a formula for it, but I think when you have, once again, if you're empathetic, you're putting yourself in your consumer's shoes, your customer's shoes, and looking at it from their standpoint, how often do they need to be hearing from you? And if it's one thing I like with certain newsletters and companies that I interact with, I kind of know what their pace is. I know that maybe once a month I'm going to get all their specials, and I kind of know that's coming. Or maybe it's once a week. And there's others, I sign up, and all of a sudden I'm getting an email every day. And then, 2 weeks in, I go in and unsubscribe, and it asks you questions. Why did you unsubscribe? I get too few emails, too many emails. I'm like, yeah, too many. You can't be talking and selling to me every day. I mean, that's not the way it needs to work. So there has to be some logic behind that of what's really going to help your consumer. How do they make their decisions? When are they thinking about certain decisions to make? And you want to have that message there at the appropriate times. I was just doing a call this morning, and I was talking about the rollout of My Magic Plus, which was a big technology rollout about 7 years ago at Walt Disney World, $1 billion project. And we took a group of executives and their families, and we said, you are going to go on a 1-week vacation to Walt Disney World. And we had them go online. Some of them went online and booked. Some of them called the reservation and booked. Some of them went through a travel agent and booked. We had them all drive out, take a taxi to the airport, and just like they're pretending they'd flown in, get on a bus, a Disney bus, go to the resort, and spend a full week on vacation. And at the end, we said, how was it? What was the experience like? And you wouldn't believe how much we learned. I mean, these are the people running the place, and they learned a ton about how we operate. And one of the things that came out of that was they booked like 2 weeks in advance, and they said, you know what? I received over 35 emails between when I booked and when I arrived from Disney. And we're like, 35? What did we say? And like, we're always asking each other what we said, because, I mean, we're the ones sending it. Well, one said, book your reservations, and one said, we're really looking forward to seeing you, and another one said, make sure you have your magic bands with you, and another one said, hey, while you're here, you can go to recreation. And it was all this messaging. And no one realized how much communication we were sending because we were such a big company and every department had their own message. So it really made us get back again and say, okay, what are we really trying to communicate here as a destination? And then there's another simple way you should figure out how often and what kind of information your customers want. Ask them. Ask them what they want. And once you ask them, they're going to tell you. And once they tell you, you do that. And then you keep asking. And so you always want to, the day you assume you know what your customers want and need is the day you're done, because you're never done. They want to be communicated to differently. Some want text messages.
Angle to this too, it's the employees. So customers, employees, and then the bulk of what you do with both. So how would you communicate and offer great
connection? Same thing. We polled our cast members at Walt Disney World about what they wanted. Why did they like working here? And you know what they told us? If you want me to really be perform at a high level, treat me as an individual, make me feel special, respect me, and make me knowledgeable so I'm good at doing my job. It was the same thing our customers told us. And so during a time like this, it's the same message for the employees. Hey guys, how are you going to go out today and make people feel special? Are you going to ask how they're doing when they come in to pick up their food if they're taking carry out? Hey, how are you all getting along? Next week we have a special. If you want to come back, we're going to be doing this food item. Hey, I know you have 2 little kids at home, and I threw in an extra dessert for you. All the things we're asking you. How can you look at people individually and really make sure that you're connected with them? You're going to have people come in that are looking really frustrated, and they're like, okay, I've been working today, and I'm on Zoom calls, and my kids are running around the room, and my husband is, everyone comes up with all these things. So be empathetic to them. Hey, how are you getting along at home? How is everything going? And give people an opportunity to vent. So once again, it's you know what you want to do for your customers, and you have to talk to your employees about delivering that, but also role modeling that. As a leader, if you can role model making them feel special, respecting them, they're going to learn how to do that, and they'll be more likely to deliver that to your customers.
It's amazing. Amazing stuff. And I'm sure all of this stuff is in your book. So tell us about your book and where people could get it.
Yeah, perfect. So actually 2 years ago in May of 2018, I was getting ready to leave Disney, and I knew that I wanted to crystallize my thoughts around leadership and my story. And so I reached out and found an editor to help me. And he and my wife and I wrote this book. And I spent about 2 months just trying to figure out what I knew. It was kind of funny. When you leave Disney, you're like, I don't know if I know anything that has any value. And then you start writing things down, and you're like, well, I know how to communicate. I know how to collaborate. I know I have good emotional intelligence. I know how to reward and recognize people. So I just made this big list, and I sent it to a friend of mine at the Cromer Graduate School, where I got my leading organization with all the subtitles. And I'm like, Keenan, thank you. You just gave me structure for my book. And so I started writing. And the publisher told me, he was very upfront with me. He said, Dan, thousands of people have written about what you're going to write about. There's nothing new here. So you better make it really fun and interesting. And I said, you got it. So he said storytelling. And that's what Walt Disney did. And that's what I did in the book. So every chapter has a story of my personal or professional life and something I learned. And then I dive into the topic. And at the end of the chapter, I have what's called Fast Track to Results, which is basically 5 or 6 real specific things you can do immediately to start being a better communicator, or start building relationships better, or start to be more creative. Because I'm really big on tactics. A lot of these books stop at the philosophical level, but they don't get into the meat and potatoes, which is really the execution. So that's the books. The book is those 3 sections. And the last section we added was lead and change. We thought it was important to address that. And so there's some chapters about how to manage change, how to lead change, how to think about change. And I wrote 10,000 words in 11 months. And then I wrote 45,000 words in 6 weeks because I was totally procrastinating and woke up and got it done. And then every time I got burnt out, my wife would jump in and she'd write a chapter. So when our daughter was reading it, she goes, I can tell what my mom wrote and I can tell what you wrote because I know you guys. And I said, yeah. So it's I have copies now. You can buy a copy at culture-kingdom.com. And I'm selling pre-selling authors copies, and I'm shipping them out every week. And then they're going to hit bookstores on August 11th. They'll be on Amazon, and you can pre-order on Amazon or Barnes and Noble, all the big bookstores. But if you want an early copy, an advanced copy, you can go to culture-kingdom.com, or you go to dancockerell.com, and there's a link that'll take you there. And I also have on my website, you can sign up for the article of the week. I send out an article every Friday on various topics, and that's free. And it's just, I've been doing that since 1998 with my management team. I've been sending out an article every week. And so I just kept that going. And just, there's always something to learn. And every week I'm like, here's some food for thought. You can read it, not read it, whatever you want to do with that. But I think this continuous improvement, continuous learning is really important.
I love talking to you, Dan, because, again, you're one of those people in the world where you want that notebook right next to you because you just say certain things that you're like, yes, I latch on to that. That's amazing. I love that. So thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. Everybody get this book because this is just a snippet of his genius. Every time he opens his mouth, something wonderful pops out where you're like, yes, I can use that for my business. So I'm going to put it in my show notes of how you could get a hold of that book too. Dan, thank you so much for your time. I could talk to you forever. Maybe we could do this again on a different topic.
I would love to be back on. I'm always willing to sit down and talk. I mean, right now we got lots of time, so let's chat anytime.
Okay, so as the journalist in me, I do have to ask this before I let you go. Yeah. Are you happy that you're not in the boardroom talking about next steps for Disney right now, or do you have a little angst of, man, I wish I was there figuring out the path forward?
I'll tell you, it's a great question. I miss the interaction with people. I miss the really creative problem solving because this is going to be complex and Disney's going to figure it out and they're going to have really creative solutions. But I certainly don't miss all the meetings because there's lots of meetings to go into this. And I'm sure there's lots of Zoom calls and there's lots of that going on. And so that was, so I'd say 50% miss it and 50% I'm like, hey, I'm glad I'm seeing, let someone else figure that out.
You're like, yeah, I'm good here.
Good.
I was looking through some of the notes that people were saying. People are responding to your beard. They're digging the beard.
Yeah. This is the longest I've ever had my beard, and it's the most time I've ever had my beard. I never grew a beard. At Disney for years, facial hair wasn't even allowed. It wasn't part of what we did. And we changed that policy about 10 years ago because we realized guests didn't care. They said as long as it's a mustache and you're well groomed and it's trimmed, they don't really care about the beard or the mustache. So we added it. And since we've been on this quarantine, I just said, all right, let's go with it. And I grew it and I said to my wife, what do you think? And Valerie said, I like it. I'm like, all right, well, I'm going to keep it for a while. And then the good thing is I do all these podcasts, these video calls and things and Zoom calls. And so when we come back out of the quarantine, I'm going to shave and people are going to be like, you look 10 years younger. You don't have that gray anymore. So well, it's all part of the master plan.
I like it. It's the COVID look.
There you go.
Yeah. It goes with the hair long up top. I'm digging it.
It's out of control. It's out of control.
For everybody. You're not alone. Yeah. Give my love to your family and Valerie. She's amazing. And what a good partnership you guys have. That's the next book, Dan. We're brainstorming it right now. You and Valerie talk about marriage and teamwork.
That's an interesting idea. I didn't mention at the beginning. I usually talk about that. We've been married for 27 years, but we never learned how to work together. And the past 2 years has been a whole new learning. And I said, all right, one of three things is going to happen. We're going to either kill each other, get divorced, or have a great partnership professionally. And luckily, we got there before the other two happened. So we're having a great time working together now, and a lot of together time. It took a while to get used to that, but we're hitting our stride.
Yeah, well, now that's a part of everybody's life, whether you like it or not. So I would buy that book too. All right, Dan.
There you go. We'll get started.
She'll write 75% and you'll end with the other 25.
And then cram for the exam. Yeah, right. That's right.
All right, buddy. Thank you so much. Appreciate everything that you and Valerie do for our community and also for everybody. Just passing on all of your knowledge throughout all of your experiences before Disney, during Disney, and now after Disney. It's an amazing resource. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Bye, guys.
See you, Michelle.